I don't mind going first. So I am Casey Phillips, and I am the assistant principal at Myers Elementary, which is in Hawk County, Georgia. So up here near Gainesville.
All right, I'll go next. My name is Marissa Murdock. I'm a professional learning coordinator slash facilitator with DeKalb County Schools. I work in central office.
All right, I am Cedric Suttle. I'm assistant principal at Georgia Cyber Academy. Home base is in College Park, Atlanta, Georgia, but we service kids in all counties of Georgia.
Mm,
Awesome. Nice to meet y'all.
nice.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
All right, I guess we dive right into it.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the beginning of the module kind of talked about those four, was it four ways?
Mhm.
Instructional leader must know, do, and monitor to support effective instruction and improve student achievement. And I was kind of thinking about my school, and I feel like we do a lot of these, and I'm not saying we do them all like perfect, but I feel like as leaders at my school, we know what effective instruction looks like. We have really worked on tier one efficacy at my school the past 3 years. And so we are starting to move. I like that we'll get into these other chapters because that's kind of where we're moving as a school, but um, we are really pushing instructional strategies for teachers, setting expectations, building that common language. And now we are going back and monitoring that through peer observations and providing specific feedback. And some of these were our district goals this past year. And so we were able to kind of align with district vital behaviors and walk right into some of these things at my school.
Mm.
Yeah, when I was reading, I definitely connected with some of the strongest parts at my school is probably our data routines and our PLC structures. I know we are real big data driven, so we look at our midterms and our ELC scores a lot. Um, and some part of our data that we look at is our Zoom participation. And that just really helps us see where we need to tighten up the instruction. So that's something that I definitely connected with. But I know that the biggest challenge for us is making sure that the students are participating because we'll get into it later, but it's just the compliance piece is them logging on,
Hmm.
but the actual engagement piece is them actively participating. So that's the hardest part for us. So trying to monitor that is hard. So just the attendance or compliance or the completion part.
Right. Yeah, you're a whole different world.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was so curious about how your PLC structures look.
Yes.
They probably work better.
I can say I've been in this is my third year at virtual, but I was in brick and mortar, which we refer to who is BAM in our world. I was there for 15 years, and it's a lot of different pros and cons. Like one thing I don't have to worry about is cafeteria duty, bus duty, things
Yeah,
like that.
typical.
But everything is recorded, everything is timely, like PLCs, it's a shared document, so everybody's
Mhm.
on it, everybody contributes. So it's some give and takes from it. Um, but it was a big learning curve that first year.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, I know for me, because I'm not married to a school building. I'm at the central office, so I'm married to many school
Hmm.
buildings. But being in and out of schools, I think, and from the district perspective, participating in a lot of focus walks or walkthroughs and instructional checks. I think one of the things we fall down with from my angle is that monitor and provide feedback.
Hmm.
I feel like, especially when we do the walkthroughs, we do this high level overview of what we might have seen in the building, and it goes to the principal and the AP, and it stops there a lot of the times.
Hmm.
And sometimes I don't know if we just don't have the proper structures to make sure that feedback actually makes it to the teachers. Because I've had so many teachers come back and say, hey, y'all did a walkthrough. I don't even know what I did right, what I did wrong. Was it necessary? Like, what do I do next? And I'm like, oh, they didn't share anything with you. And sometimes it's not that granular that they're picking up on one person unless they did something, completely outrageous. But then
Hmm.
on the other end of it, thinking of myself as a teacher, the last time I was in the classroom and somebody from the district came in, I have no idea. Like
Right.
I saw smiles, but you could have written anything when you
Yeah.
were gone through the door. And
Yeah.
then also, how does that help me to enhance my practice? And so that's one of the things I think somehow we don't, the feedback loop doesn't always close. It
Mhm.
rarely closes, I know, in my sphere. And so that's something we've definitely got to work better on. Teachers really want feedback. They really do. If you walk into their room, they want to hear the good, the bad. Some don't want to hear the bad, but they do want to hear something.
Right.
And that's pretty much what I think here is what's not effective for us. I think we do a good job from district perspective of setting, all the tones for what instructions and what strategies, probably
Hmm.
too much dictation of what to do. I think we do a good job of telling folks what to do, but we don't do a good job of making sure that they feel comfortable and supported doing it.
When you give your principals feedback, do you normally put it in like a template or is it just an email of here's what we saw?
And so it's, because we have to do it in this kind of systematic manner.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm asked to be on a walkthrough team. Sometimes I'm not. I'm like a science person primarily.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll ask me to go. And then, when I'm giving the feedback, it's like 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes to
Mm.
say everything you've seen.
Yeah.
And it's oral. And to the principals, they might take notes, they might not. And so,
Yeah.
it doesn't get specific. When I'm doing personal walkthroughs, I get very, very granular with the teachers I'm working with. So they'll get feedback directly from me,
Right.
because I want to make sure that, and I never go in if I haven't provided support. Like you've gotten the support first, and now I'm coming in to see how it's going for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we make sure we tell them that because I'm like, I'm not setting you up for failure. I'm not going to walk in on a, random day. We just went over how to do this. Just try it once, and I'll come and watch you. So it's different levels to it, and I think that other level, the higher level, is what's just not effective.
Yeah. You're right though, because then it's back on the building administrators and how they push that to their teachers. And
Right.
I've seen it happen exactly what you're talking about is sometimes it gets put out there and then sometimes they just take it with a grain of salt and they keep on
Yep.
moving.
And
Depends
keep
on the
going.
admin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got so
And,
many things doing. I mean, do you think they have time to go around and tell all these teachers the one liner?
Right.
No.
At
and I
least
hate to tell you
two
this,
goals.
Marissa, but when I was AP in BAM, we used to always give the teachers like a week in advance notice. The district come to do a walkthrough next Tuesday. So it's
Absolutely.
not like you were getting a real picture because all the teachers were expecting you to
Absolutely.
come in and
Yep.
saving their best lesson for that day.
Right. That too. That's the other side of it. So yeah, it's not always effective. And again, that's just from my perspective. I mean, I could picture in the building if we're authentically doing this, this process of doing this work, and then
Mhm.
I come and see as a leader and then provide feedback and support. That's much more organic. I'm not a fan of how we do it district wise because it really leans towards more compliance
Mhm.
rather than true change, true instructional change.
Right. And that kind
Mhm.
of leads right into, that module two diagram, even just thinking about the principles you work with, is it a expectation from higher up that they share this feedback? Is it an ability thing? Is it a motivational thing? Do they believe that they should be sharing it? So I really like this. I guess it's this, what is it called? The framework or the chart. We do something called the six sources of influence in our district, and we've done some training on that, but it goes into our teachers personally able to do something, or is it a motivational thing? Is it a structural ability that we don't have in place as leaders? And so this kind of made me think about some of the influences that we use when we're setting up our PL and our collaborative planning and, just our team structures.
That is good stuff. I really like this graphic too because when I looked at it, I'm like, this explains a lot. A
Right.
lot of things. I mean, we normally talk about it's will or skill. That's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do it or will you do it? And
Mm-hmm.
so I saw that it was very evident here. I'm like, oh, the will pieces are, am I motivated to do it? Do I believe it? And then the skill pieces are, can I meet this expectation? Do I have the capacity? do I have the ability to do it? And this was actually really powerful because not only did it make me think about building level work and working with teachers, but
Mhm.
recently I made a hard decision to my supervisor, and I said no to something she really wanted me to do. And I thought about why I said no, and all of it sat in that motivation box because
Mhm.
I realized that people were not doing it, not expending their energy and time, and they're getting rewarded. And I didn't feel like I was getting rewarded to continue to do that thing. And so
Mhm.
I lost the entire motivation for doing it. And I pictured, just from that perspective, how teachers might feel when, they're there and you're putting in all the hard work and you just haven't gotten
Mhm.
any recognition for it, or you see people are being recognized for the bare minimum, or
Mhm.
you can do it but you just don't want to, and that's what we see a lot of too, teachers that can do and don't want to do it.
Yep.
And then as well as having all these new teachers, and with teacher turnover so high, we really have a bunch of people who are not comfortable doing things, like they don't know how to do it.
Mhm.
They either don't know how to do it, or they definitely don't feel comfortable stepping out of what they've known and what they've always done to do something different. And
Yeah.
so this is really a dig at the psyche of the people in your building. And I'm sure you can look through your buildings and see somebody who fits in one of these boxes or multiple boxes, and it explains why they do what they do, or why they don't do what they don't do.
Exactly. Yep.
So when I saw this graphic, I actually copied it and put it in my work file because we all go through this and try to figure it out, but this really
Mhm.
helps you put a name on it. And
Oh
when you put a name on which category somebody falls under, I think you can attack it a lot better. Because sometimes you really think somebody's just being disruptive in a meeting, and it's really just because they don't understand the expectations. You know what I mean? And it's
right.
just that's why they're fighting back. So I saved it because now when I'm pushing out an initiative, I'm thinking to myself, okay, why is this person pushing back? And I can kind of figure out how to attack it. So I think one thing that I noticed was that I'm trying to always just figure out how do I make something not feel compliance like and
Mhm.
really make it feel effective. And that's the
Mhm.
Yeah.
battle. Like how can I really go in front of teachers and tell them the learning target needs to be visible and it be meaningful and not just a compliance piece because the teachers automatically feel like it's a compliance piece. So that goes to the belief system. How do I make them believe that the learning target is meaningful? So
Mhm.
that's why I really like this though. 'Cause like I said, I can really put a name on it and really know how to attack and get my teachers to do something that's not necessarily their favorite thing to do.
Yeah. And part of that, I know, is probably some structural motivation that you might have to put into place,
Yeah.
or like celebrating, some teachers that are having really good data growth with data, but you see them also doing that expectation of learning targets, and just celebrating those, doing some peer motivation a little bit too. But yeah,
Yeah.
Not only that, but you also got to put a system in place to monitor because as
yeah,
soon as they figure out that you're not monitoring it, it just goes down the hole too. If
Yeah.
you
right.
start the initiative and you're not checking on it,
Yep.
they're not doing it either.
Oh yeah.
And as I listen to you all, I think about how much, what is it, mirrors, windows, and doors. And I think this might be controversial, but I think it's great for even teachers to just see this graphic and be honest with you. So, like,
Hmm.
I'm that kind of person. I'm like, okay, y'all, we're gonna try this. I want you to look at this graphic and tell me which box you're falling into right now about what you think
Hmm.
about this idea. And
Hmm.
having even them kind of self-reflect, well, to be honest, it might be I think something else is more important than this right now, this expectation that you have. Understanding where people are,
Yeah.
with things is so important. And then the flip side of it is now, as a leader, if these are some of the barriers that are going to prevent something from going on or going how it should, what are you, like you said, the structural
Mhm.
motivation, what are you actively or preemptively putting in place? Because I know there's going to be somebody who's going to say, well, I think this is more important. How can how can I bump this up to the higher importance level for them, because I know such and such is going to say that. And so I think it's a really good tool for
Mhm.
understanding, but also preparing beforehand. What can I already do to move this barrier and way of thinking when we're doing something or we want to do something new?
Yeah.
And also for me and my leadership, it makes me think, what have I hit in this presentation that I'm delivering? Because I feel like I do a great job of expectations and ability, because especially in the virtual setting, I'm gonna make a video for everything and break it down and send it to you, make sure you know exactly what we're doing, but I might have missed the whole motivation and the belief part. So I like they know exactly what to do and how to do it, but I didn't make it clear of why they should or motivate them or gave them any kind of incentive, like you said, to want to do it. So for a
Hmm.
leader, it's like when I'm making my presentation to deliver to the team, I got to make sure I hit all 4 points to make sure
Right.
that you know that they I kind of kept capture everybody. So Casey can't come back to me and be like, I don't believe you. And
Mhm.
Marissa's like, well, I'm not motivated. I'm trying to hit everybody in the meeting now.
And then you got the ones that just, that's not my thing and I'm not
Right.
doing it. That's funny.
No,
Okay.
it's good stuff.
So looking at chapter 4 was all about um, social emotional learning. I thought this was interesting. There was a quote about, a lot of teachers think social emotional learning are for those who have been through the struggles, and it really is
Mhm.
about, all students and making sure they feel safe and making sure they've learned those skills like cooperative learning or how to have empathy for others and things like that. But it is true because we have used SEL so much for students who are struggling, but it's teaching all students these
For
skills.
everybody.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, I take, because I wasn't schooled in America, I was schooled in Jamaica. I'm Jamaican born.
Hmm.
And one of the things I really took way for granted until I came here was that we always had a class called in our high school, all through we do middle and high school together, called personal development, right? And
Hmm.
there was a written curriculum for this. Like we would have you have your 1 hour or 2 hours of personal development every week, and then you every week is a different theme. It could be regulating emotions today. It could be, talking about different topics. But I look back, study skills, things that the soft skills, the things that we're not going to teach that in hardcore chemistry. And I'm coming from high school teaching chemistry and all that. I'm not have time to stop and tell you, well, this is how you want to regulate your emotions, baby. No. So, when is we took it for granted back then. We were just like, oh, this is a class that there's no grade, there's nothing. We come here, we kind of relax, but even that is good. Having that kind of low stress, low expectations in that classroom, but also on the flip side, kind of digging. And I could think of so many things that we could talk about that I couldn't talk about back then: social media, cyberbullying, TikTok culture, all of that. These are relevant things to our kids, and they need that kind of counter space
Hmm.
outside of the curriculum to kind of digest, what's happening in the real world, and having a chance to have a really unstructured kind of studying or a looser structure where they're actually getting opportunities to talk about things, and regulating, what they're also the signals they're getting from outside of the school. And I think that is needed. I never realized how good it was until I got into a different educational setting and
Hmm.
realized the impact of it being missing when my students would come to me and talk to me about things that I would do in that particular class time.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, and the curriculum exists because I know, especially after the pandemic, a
Hmm.
lot of SEL curriculum just went on the market. People wanted to do that. People bought whole programs for their schools. But it's not just the program, it's making sure that you are prioritizing this. And that's what he mentioned in the video, that it is just as important. I know, like testing is really like the heavy thing, but
Hmm.
it's just as important as your academic learning, if not in this society, in this time, even more
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. And I mean, we have our counselor goes in once a month, but that's not enough. And so we're
Yeah.
having to now teach teachers how to use these lessons when they see something pop up, with our elementary students.
I've
Hmm.
always had good success with SEL. In brick and mortar and online, just because I always tied it to not the students, but I was like, hey, y'all need this more than the students. Y'all
Mhm.
get
Yeah.
overloaded. This is your time for you not to worry about standards or things like this. So take this 10 minutes to 10, 15-minute homeroom break or whenever we decide to do SEL, and you enjoy it as well as much as the students. And that got me a lot of buy-in from the teachers once they realized, like, hey, this is the time for me to let my hair down too and relax. So
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
Because teachers get have different symptoms of SEL too. You know, they get overloaded, they get burnt out and things like that. So I think it's good for us every now and then to have a, like you said, an unstructured place for us not to worry about what standards on the board. Are we on pace for this for the curriculum guide or anything like that? Or and SEL is a great place for, like you said, we bought this system from the state that they're doing or whatever. But today, let's talk about the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs from last week.
Yes,
Let's talk about this today. Like it has room for that where you're not worried
yes.
about being lost. So that's one thing that I definitely love SEL, and I've always taken it from the approach of it's everybody. It's not anybody who's been through
Hmm.
anything. Everybody needs a chance to. I liken it to like
Amen.
recess for elementary. You know, you
It
don't just let
is.
the kids who need it. You let everybody go outside. So
Yeah.
I love SEL. I'm a big proponent for that.
Me
Yeah.
too. Me too. Huge. And coming from like none of my educational experiences teaching have made room for that, and I've been a staunch advocate for it.
Mhm.
Nobody's listening, but but I've
When we
always
came back
said
from
like you
COVID,
have
my
yeah,
principal,
gotta
she
have it.
made us add it to the lesson. Like we had to do 10-minute SELs in every class, every
Yeah.
lesson, every day. So it was
Mhm.
ingrained in us when we first came back, and then it weaned off a little bit. But then they
Yeah.
shifted it to doing it just every day in homeroom, so that worked out a little bit better. So
That's good.
yeah,
Yeah, I like that. As long as there's, I feel like that we need to pride just as how we're like, you got to go to science and you got to get this credit. I
Yeah.
think this should be just as important. Like this is going to, and
Mhm.
it should be just a fun class. Like it's, like I said, low risk. You are getting all the experiences that you won't, things you won't get to talk about at home or might
Yeah.
not get to talk about at home or, in between classes, all that.
We have some elementary schools that use it as like a connections or specials. So
hmm
they
Mm.
hit it once a week. Um, and they follow a curriculum, but our school doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a fad, but it's program heavy. But yeah,
Mhm.
those are some of the things I really want to see become more systemic. And then with the counterpart of the question asking about student engagement and what that looks like, and I think about how much when students are allowed that counter space, how much more regulated they are in the regular, classroom because they've gotten that chance to air out all their or they know that I'm going to have this class today or on Thursday I can talk about all this stuff. And so now they're more focused in the regular classes and their engagement is up just a little bit more. But here's one of the questions like what do you look for to determine if students are engaged? I thought that had some
Mhm.
interesting answers.
It is because
man,
everybody thinks student engagement is different. Like you talked about compliance versus engagement.
Authentic, yeah, yeah.
that is man. When I tell you that is our biggest struggle is this student
Oh yeah.
engagement piece. Um, just recently we made it mandatory that they had to have their cameras on. They used to have to have their cameras on, so that's been a big piece. So now it's like cameras are on, but now we're seeing the most immaculate ceiling fans and ceilings because cameras are on, but they're not actually on the camera. So it's like what determines engagement? Is
Mhm.
it the chat usage, emoji usage? So for us, where I am, like I said, compliance is logging in, but engagement is what are you doing while you're in class? So
Mhm.
that engagement piece is really hard. But the video that they talked about engagement, it made me just think about like I said, are they really present or are they really caring about what they're doing? Because it's just a different world where I am right now. Like I said, it's a give and take. Once they sold me on the, oh, you don't have to do bus duty, you don't have to do this. But now I got to fight with, I'm on screen, but I'm also playing PlayStation on the side. So it's a different battle every day. But that student engagement piece is what is really what's on my job, on my desk every day, every morning, trying to figure out what we can do.
Yeah. Really, we're in the same boat. Everybody's compliant and our kids, they look like they're engaged, they're answering questions. But really, we really want to dive into student discourse this year as a
Mhm.
district. That's one of our vital behaviors we're going to focus on is getting them to talk and peer to peer and just engage more in the curriculum. But really, it's about the teachers and how can we fill their toolbox of these instructional strategies? Because if not, they'll just do turn and talks all day, in the classroom.
Right.
So we need to broaden their toolbox for student engagement. And so that's some of the PL that we'll be working on this year.
I like that. Yeah, student discourse has been a huge kind of one of our many strategies that we push I keep saying if you want kids to talk, number one, you have to give them something to talk about and something that's juicy because kids will talk. And then the only way to disengage them from all the chatter on the outside is giving them something that's far more juicy or more relevant to them on the inside. But I love what you said about the compliance because that's what we often see a lot, that compliant engagement. Everybody's quiet and paying attention and raising my hands. But it's hard. It's people think that the true authentic engagement has to be very, structured and everything. But I know when kids are engaged when they ask all the time when they ask the off the wall questions. That's how I know you're thinking. That's how I
Yeah.
know your class has
Mhm.
provoked deep thought because they're asking a question that's connected to something else and you might not see that it's relevant, but it tells me that the wheels in their head are turning. And so a
Mhm.
lot of teachers are surprised when I'm like, I can't believe he said that or whatever in my class. I'm like, that's perfect because now I knew he was thinking about trying to connect things together.
Right.
But yeah, that's one of the myth busters we talk about with authentic engagement. Like I can't even pretend to speak with the virtual world because I remember my little stint during the pandemic and
Mhm.
that extra degree of separation is that makes oh my gosh, I knew teachers that was teaching their little hearts out on
Mhm. Yep.
teaching a whole, I mean, like the rent was due. They were teaching. And there was, like you said, the ceiling fan is up there. Some other things are going on. So I can't imagine how to even, address that. I was so happy kind of happy a little bit when we kind of shuffled back into some amount of normalcy with getting the kids back in. That's another challenge too, but it's hard. It's hard.
Mhm.
Good
I like
combo.
what Casey said about the discourse because we tried that too, but then we got so much pushback from teachers because we always said, because I'm math, right? So we always talking about they got to explain their thinking, let them explain it.
Yes.
Don't just give them multiple choice. But those teachers gave us pushback about grading and all that explanation as opposed to multiple choice. So we had
Mhm.
to meet a common ground. 80% of the test can be multiple choice, but 20% has to be discourse. They have
Mhm.
to explain their thinking.
Right.
And then, like we talked about earlier with the reasons why people don't do things, we were trying to say put them in breakout rooms because we can't do turn and talk, obviously. But then some
Mhm.
teachers aren't comfortable with breakout rooms. They're in there without a teacher. So, but it's just it's just like you said, that engagement piece. I remember when I was at my school in APS, this one teacher, you walk in the room, quiet as a mouse. She's just up there teaching or whatever. But the kids weren't learning, but just because they were scared. The teacher was so strict and she
Mhm.
had good classroom management, but the kids weren't learning, but they were just scared. They would just go in there and be quiet, put their head down. But
Mhm.
if you walk past her, you would think that she had all fours on her ELC on her ELCs, but the
Mhm.
kids were just
Right.
talking. So like I said, it was just that misconception because they knew the teacher
Yes.
didn't make play no mess. But I like to hear that talk.
Right.
I like to hear that loud
Me
classroom. I
too.
like to hear things going on.
Yeah.
But it's a healthy balance as with anything
Yes.
else.
And
Mhm.
that's the trick, teaching teachers how to strike that balance. Like we're not encouraging students to just be talking,
Mhm.
no, but you've got to know how to manage that space and that environment that still allows them that. And it's a hard balance to strike. You got to
Yes.
practice doing it to
Yeah.
get it right. And a lot of teachers don't want to, don't even want to go there. Upset the little balancing and strict management they started from day one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I did like something else I saw in the book before we move on. It hit me like that was my aha moment: cooperative learning versus cooperative seating. Did y'all see that? And
Hmm.
I
Mhm.
think
Yep.
about how many small groups, and I'm like, oh, that's gonna step on somebody's toe.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But
Well,
I've
yeah,
actually
I have a
been.
teacher that
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I do have a teacher. She teaches in rows, but she does cooperative learning because she knows to get these two to turn around to these two. But then you got some that have the desk in groups and they're not doing any talking, So yeah, it's exactly what you're talking about.
I had an eighth grade teacher one time, and I was just talking to her in the morning when I was doing my rounds, and she was putting her desk together, and she had the group. So you've all seen the group of four desks, four desks, four desks,
Hmm.
and she stood back and was like, "Yep, I got my small groups taken care of." And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, that's totally against what we're trying to do. It's supposed to be intentional, purposeful. You just put them in groups to say,
yeah,
like you said, compliance. Check that box.
Uh-huh.
They're in
move the
small
chair.
groups."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's gonna step on some people's toes if you mention that.
Right. And our last article, the compliance to agency, exactly
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Mm.
How are our teachers feeling about professional learning in our school and what improvements would
I
make it meaningful for
Yeah.
teachers?
I know what resonated with me because I feel like teachers definitely grow more when the PDs are connected to what they really need,
Hmm.
as opposed to no shot to what you said, Casey, your district is doing, but you know how a district is just pushing down something and think all teachers need to go to this.
Hmm.
Teachers, I don't think teachers really gain that much from that, but it's like when they have like this choice board of different PDs to go to that they feel like they need, that's when I think the teachers get a lot more out of it.
Yeah,
I
they
do
need that
too.
voice. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I agree. And especially with the new literacy curriculums that we bought last year and the district paid for all these PLs and we had to go to them. Now we're kind of trying to shift grade level wise. What do you need this year? We're still going to work on literacy and work on our curriculum, but we got to find a way to make it more differentiated and job embedded so that they are not seeing it as an additional thing that they're having to learn and do.
I have a lot to say because I work
Yeah,
so
that's
That's
many
what
your
I said.
role.
This is your
on so many
area.
levels. So many levels. But one of the things you guys hit on perfectly is that what I call can PL, where everybody's got to do this, and that hit hard last year with literacy,
Yeah.
with the ELA standards changing. Oh my gosh, I was
Oh
so
yeah.
happy. I've never dabbled and cared to dabble in ELA. I've never been so happy about that in my life because it was a hot mess. And some of the things were just demanded from the state level, so it is not much control that we as leaders and educate all the way down had. But one of the things that really I've seen the most powerful for PL is teacher-led PL, and again, that's something that we don't tap into enough. Our department, I know we try to do it so much because especially with budget cuts and we don't have $5,000 to get this nice man, this nice lady to come and talk to us. And so we just often encourage teachers to talk about your best practices and share that with each other, because teachers tend to gravitate to things they hear from their peers, sometimes even more than we wah, 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 wah. That's how we sound to them, but they'll listen to somebody else. And then being, like somebody mentioned, being loose and tight about the PL. In my previous district, one of the times we were very strategic with how we offer professional learning, and that menu of options really works. I mean, it does. You have to know how to set it up. You have to really structure your PL plans very early and in advance, but giving that option for teachers is powerful, because now I know I can go here, I can go here. They got something for me. This is what I want.
Hmm.
And so that those are some of the more powerful pieces. I really and truly, it boils down to giving teachers more power in what they're learning
Hmm.
and working with that, because everybody doesn't react to every program, every PL the same way. But they want to feel like I can still enter into this and do something. And your job is to make sure you're providing the space for them to do it so they can go back and transfer into the classroom.
Yeah.
And that's one of the powerful things I picked out from the article. But it's not even a surprise. I knew that
Hmm.
that was the most effective way.
Yeah. And building capacity in others, like you were talking about teacher-led PL.
Yeah.
And one thing we started last school year, 2 years ago, is once a month, one Wednesday afternoon, we'd call it queso. We get chips and cheese dip and nachos, but it's like a teacher volunteers something that we've seen them do well in the classroom. It could be the gym teacher teaching about movement and how do you integrate it into your classroom. The counselor might do something on her SEL curriculum. It's all optional, but we have a lot of teachers come to those to support each other, learn from each other, and they get chips and queso. But it's like, I learned this, queso. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do when you take this
That's
back?
cool.
And so they have
Yeah.
loved it, and we sit back. We don't plan it. We don't, we just look for volunteers, or, if we're in classrooms, hey, you did a really good job integrating math vocabulary. How do you do that? And so would you be willing to lead a queso one month? And so that's how we've kind of pushed that. And that's been powerful.
Yes. It builds a really good culture too. That's culture building right there, a culture of collaboration. Because I
Yeah.
mean, it's nice when I come in and talk, but when I hear teachers doing it's even more powerful to me because I know you value learning, you value sharing, and you value collaboration in this space. And you want to hear from others. I love that queso.
Queso.
And the best PL is where there's food all the
Oh
time.
yeah, yep. So
Proven methods, proven methods.
well, it's been great conversation with y'all tonight.
Oh yeah, we're at the end. Yay! Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we're at the end.
Yeah. So now I
Yeah, I
think
think
we just
it was great reflection and conversation between us.
yeah, I thought it
And it's
was.
good to hear the different perspectives. I love hearing that virtual side. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah,
is a different set of challenges.
it is. It is. Like I said, I think if I ever went back to BAM or whatever, I would take some things from it because um, it is some great stuff that I think that I can see improved in brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Just like to go back to what Casey was talking about with the queso thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just last year, we changed our PLCs. You know how you have a PLC every Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
I went in one day and was just like, you know what? Me and the coaches, we're not going to talk anymore. So we
Mm-hmm.
wrote in PLC. We gave them a template about what should be done. We showed them how to use it. And then after that, we told them y'all have to rotate who leads the PLC every week. A different person has to share data. A different person
Mm-hmm.
has to lead a discussion about the standard or the key verbs or whatever. And that really changed a lot. Like you said, we're building those
Mm-hmm.
leaders and the teachers. They started taking more ownership of it. It wasn't just them sitting there listening to us what we have to do. And of course, we'll chime in every now and then, but the whole thing of it was we're not gonna say anything. This is y'all PLCs, y'all in the classrooms, y'all know what needs to happen, what the students did get or didn't get, and that really
Mm-hmm.
changed a lot for us.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, guys.